told you I was going to tell her to reformat the letters.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. How's it going, Julius Hall?
What's going on, Robert?
Well, I can't complain. I can't complain. We're back another Saturday, so we are on the other side of the earth. And for our viewers, we are pleased to know that you're on the other side of the earth. This morning, we got a topic that is that's serious. It touches a lot of things that we've been seeing in our community. But as we were coming on before I had a chance to get with you and Sabrina, wherever she might be, the key word that came to mind. So today we're going to talk about why does the Black community, Black folk, keep taking the L, the loss. You'll see people do this sometimes. And the key word that came to mind, as we kind of think through and kick off this topic, is the word oppression. We see it going on now with Ukraine and how Russia is being oppressive. But there are five types of oppression, right? That's exploitation, marginalization, powerlessness, cultural imperialization, and violence. In the case of what we're talking about today, how our communities have been oppressed, basically cruel and unjust treatment. And let me tell you a little bit of stats, and then we'll get started. Do you know that oppression basically, again, marginalizes people? To that end, Black folks in America, we're going to talk about poverty and incarceration to begin. Black folks represent 13.2% of the United States population, 13.2%. But we represent 23.8 of the poverty population, almost double. So almost 2 times as many Black folks in America are living in poverty, right? That's really huge. That impacts a lot of things. But then we look at the over-incarceration of people in America, as Senator Warnock talks about. We warehouse more people, put people in prison at a higher rate than any other country on this earth. But Black males, 1 in 45 Black males are incarcerated. Majority of them, I'm willing to argue, are wrongly incarcerated. And so let's just kick off with that and get your reactions on that. What are you thinking about that? What pops in your head? You ain't muted, are you? Make sure you unmute now.
I was eating a lemonade to get this taste out of my mouth.
Lord.
Let me ask you something. You said what pops in my head about the incarceration part of
Well,
it?
all of it. Just the whole idea of oppression that has led to a overrepresentation of Black people, not only in incarceration, but in the world of poverty.
Well, as long as you can keep a people down, they're going to be poverty, especially in that particular population. We make up 5% of the world population, but we also make up in the United States 25% of the world's incarceration.
Right.
But you only make up 5% of the world's population. but you make up 25% of the world's incarceration. We have over almost 2.5 million people incarcerated. 2.5 million people. There's a problem.
Yeah. And I was watching, and I think I shared with everybody on Facebook and with this show and a few other people, look at this movie called The 13th, a documentary. It is sad. It talks about how over and over this government has used language, systems, ideas, social constructions to oppress people. I'll give you a great example of that. Back during slavery, a lot of things that we see today in our churches and our neighborhoods, a lot of those were used to oppress people. I didn't know that. Sometimes when we see this in church or we see the ushers back in the day, many, many years ago, put their arms behind their back. That was stuff that the master created to oppress our people because we were taught not to dignify ourselves. We were taught not to respect ourselves, and we were taught to hate our communities. And so a lot of these things play into this role of poverty. That's why I'm always championing our older women who stand up for issues of poverty. Poverty has a huge impact. If there's nothing else more than a loss that our community has taken, is being systematically placed into poverty.
Yeah. It's just a shame that the that after all these years, there are systems still in place to hold us down. Um, I don't know what the fear is. I guess the fear is just that if you let these people, I guess, when you figure somebody is stronger than you, if you figure that somebody has a better DNA of survival in them than you do, then you don't want that person to be ahead of you. You know, um, you don't want that person to coexist or be equal to you. So there's something put in place uh, to um, to keep that person marginalized. And so if that person, if you I tell people all the time, perception unchallenged becomes reality.
Right.
And if we don't combat the perception of us, then it becomes a reality in our mind. So we have to be able to, at some point, say that we can overcome whatever is thrown at us, but it's taking so long. The thing is, we haven't died yet, and they don't understand why. So they're always creating another way to hold us down. And it's not, when I say they, it's a system. It's
Right.
a group of people. It's not everybody. It's not every white person. It's not, hell, they have black people with them too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's holding us back. So it's they. When we say they, I had this show a year or so ago about they, when we're trying to find out who they are. You know, but they are the system. Those are the people that are pulling the chains. What did
John made a true statement here. He said, when our true history is taught, it causes tensions, but through that tension, we make progress. I think we make some progress. I want to
Yeah, you
point to
do.
Florida on that comment. He made a good point. The state of Florida, as ignorant as they are, especially this stupid governor, what bothers me is now you got not two laws that are problematic. One, they are talking about this education of race in schools. What's the fear there? What's the fear? It's your ancestors that put our ancestors in chains and in deplorable positions. It's your ancestors that came over here, the folks that don't want to teach it, not John, but the folks in Florida who don't want to teach it, who created this system. So now you want us to ignore our history. You want us to ignore the history that was created just as much as we should ignore Native Americans who were also wrongly persecuted. But then this whole bill about outing young children called Don't Say Gay Bill. I mean, I don't know what's going on in Florida and around the world, but Again, those are just two examples of how oppression still exists. And we got to find a way to push back. I do know the thing about race in schools. Folks who are teachers, you got to just start thinking creatively. You ain't got to talk about race in schools, but you can talk about social justice. And then that's your pathway to talk about the other issues.
But Robert, I agree with Dr. Umar Johnson on a few things. Dr. Johnson was here this week. He appeared on our show Tuesday night. You can go back and watch that. I'm trying to upload video from his Wednesday speech. We'll have that as we'll be playing that also. We have about an hour of the footage. But one thing he said about the critical race theory being taught in schools, he said it's a money thing. And I was trying to figure out why he said that, and then he explained. He said that he agrees with it, but he don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he agrees that it should be taught, but he doesn't agree that we have to wait on anybody to okay it to be taught. We have community centers in every neighborhood. We have a church on every corner. So why should we have to wait on anybody to say it's okay? Teach our kids ourselves. Teach them everything that they need to know. Now, the only other bottom to that is that it should be taught to all kids. Because if we're just teaching our kids it, then those kids that should be taught it also won't know it later on. So they'll be saying, "What are you talking about?" Because they
Mm-hmm.
weren't taught it in school. So our history should always be taught again through the churches, the community centers, and other organizations where we can send our kids to get to. So they're trying to erase our history, like we
Oh yeah,
never
most
existed,
definitely.
that we
Yeah.
never did anything to build this country, that we were just animals brought over here on the slave ship to work. And
Right.
we got photos loaded up where when we get into the talk about the 13th, um, and what it was, D.W. Griffith's film "Birth of a Nation."
Right.
This thing is crazy, and they break it down. Everybody, I recommend you go and watch this documentary, "The 13,"
Yeah.
and
Netflix.
it talks about that. But go ahead.
No, that's per. I'm glad you said that because it's on Netflix. It's called 13th. You're exactly right. The thing, if we nail it down, and I see John talks about the weeping time. The problem with oppression, the problem with us continuing this cycle of living in a system that is invisible, is that it does teach us to devalue not only our community but the historical pieces that created the community. It causes us to forget that the city hall you look at every day, that the White House that you look at on TV, that the weeping time that brought our ancestors over here and suffer. We don't want to remember how those things came to be. It was on the backs of suffrage. It was on the back. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I had a call. It was on the backs of suffrage. And so people want us to forget that X amount of men and women died, children died as forced, unpaid laborers who built these places.
let me
You
let
know,
me show let me show the picture while you're saying that,
yeah,
and because it'll be relevant to what we're talking about after a while. Now
yeah,
these are kids in the field. Look at this here. These
yeah,
are children
right.
in the field. They were locked up for
Bullcrap.
look at it. It's children and women, everything in the field working on chain gangs.
Right.
They created chain gangs to create a workforce,
Mm-hmm.
an unpaid workforce. So it's just crazy. They had trumped up charges like vagrancy, disorderly conduct, looking at a white woman too hard, all kinds of things that they had. And it was just crazy to put us in jail to create a workforce. And
Right.
people wonder why we complain. We complain because the playing field has not been leveled. level.
Right.
We complain because we're trying to catch up and nobody's helping. We complain because there's people in place to try to level that playing field, but they're still going along with the status quo and working with the establishment.
You know, as you were talking about the documentary, the one interesting thing I heard on that documentary that was so powerful, they went from the N word, NIGGA, to the C word, criminal. So we couldn't use the N word anymore. So we just started using the word criminal. That's why people will hear me say, we've got to stop criminalizing nonviolent crimes. They used the drug war, the war on drugs which was really what Nixon wanted to create, the drug on race, the drug on people of color, the drugs on blacks. That whole drug on war, the war on drugs was basically a war on black folks. It was a war to get more black folk incarcerated. And so you start seeing things where, a person who lived in poverty, who wants to feed their family, who's now in desperation, I can't go get a job because of the system. So I got to go out and make money where I can. So that was a systematic way to then, now we're going to capture you and put you in jail for 30, 40 years. And you're really going to create this cycle of poverty that we see today.
Yeah, and that's part of it. We got to remember that when they changed the N word to the C word, from calling you the N word to calling you a criminal, you got to remember Rosa Parks was labeled a criminal. Martin
Right.
Luther King, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, everybody's labeled a criminal if you're doing something to uplift the black community. Every black person is created a criminal. It is not. It is so systematic that people don't see it right now happening today. Even though I hate to bring to correlate these things, but it all correlates. Here in Port Wentworth, you
Yeah.
have 4 black members on council for the first time ever in the history of this city. The white mayor doesn't want them to govern because they have the majority. It's a 5-1 vote. He only votes if it's 3-3. So he'll never vote. He'll never have any say. So he doesn't like it, so he's crying foul. But the news media doesn't want to ask him the tough questions as to why. All they're concerned with is that he is crying. They don't give a damn about why he's crying or what the issue is. All they care about is the fact that he's crying. So if he's crying, it has to be those 4 black people's fault. So they perpetrate this big scene of people walking out, and then they blame somebody who had nothing to do with the walkout. It all correlates,
Well, here's
on how we're treated.
To frame that piece into what we're kind of talking about. Really, it's oppression in a different way. What it's doing is it's giving it's aligning with it's you have our news media, and you can say I said it, whatever. Our news media, you got to look at who owns the media, right? Who owns the media? Who owns the CNN? Who owns USA Today? Who owns Savannah Morning News? The oppressor. So the oppressor is definitely not going to tell their story of bull crap. They're not going to say we're wrong. No. It's always going to be the oppressed who's wrong.
Yeah.
Which is why all this stuff is continuously perpetuated. Which is why in Port Wentworth, I went to a YouTube video when all this was going down. They had the audacity to air where the mayor went into the city manager's office many years ago. The city manager was clearing out corruption, but TOC sat on the side of the mayor who was a part of the corrupt.
Correct, and still is that same mayor.
And this is a shout out to mainstream media. You may be owned. I look at AJC in Atlanta. You might be owned by the oppressor, but at the end of the day, people got. This is why stuff like this is so important. You got to start taking apart and looking at who's in control and following the money. Whoever's in control, their narrative will be raised higher than those who are not in control.
Ain't no question. And until we start uh, uh, making them understand by boycotting, by boycotting, um, and protesting things that they care about, then they're not going to listen to us. They know that we don't, the masses of us don't care because they're comfortable. They made it where they made this middle class, where that middle class is unconcerned with what is happening to the lower class. The middle class is too busy trying to be in the upper class. So they don't care. So you can't get unity that way. We don't have that privilege that most people are afforded.
Right.
So if they can separate us, they can defeat us. And
Let
they
me.
might not be showing that they defeated us on as a whole, but if you can keep a people from being unified, you have in essence defeated them.
And it's funny you said. Let me go back to this issue where Alderwoman Gibson Carter shared her concern about her colleague representing racist behaviors. It baffles me that I think about it. That again, this is an example where the oppressor had more leverage over the oppressed. And so here's a woman who sees the issues, who sees between the lines, who sees through the clouds for a person who did exhibit racist thoughts and behaviors. But because the oppressor did not like that, they found a way to shun and publicly shame someone who was calling a foul. This is why I want our communities, not only locally but statewide and nationally, we've got to start looking at things for what they are. You know, when you have people, and we're going to segue into this, when you have people that fight the system, as my daddy would say, you can't fight City Hall by yourself, but you have those who are courageous enough who will try. But when you fight the system, you will notice that our people are either attacked, they're either marginalized or killed. We look
That's
at the
correct.
Alicia Gibson Carters, Keisha Gibson Carter's, Alicia Blakely's, Bernetta Lanier's, Angela Davis, Atala Shabazz, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Lewis Gates, the Black Panthers. It's all the same. When we speak up, we get attacked, marginalized, or killed.
Or canceled.
Right.
You get canceled also. When you say the wrong things on these networks, um, and they don't like it, then they cancel you. The cancel culture is live and it is kicking. Like I said earlier, Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, all these people were labeled troublemakers and criminals. But had it not been for them standing up and advocating for us, then we wouldn't be even sitting here today doing what we're doing. Slavery was alive and well. They created the prison system for to get free labor. They created the prison system as another form of slavery because you were not considered a free man unless you were not a convicted felon. If you once you became a criminal, you were not a free man again. They put you on these chain gangs and worked you for free. It is still going on right now today. Yes, some people want to get out of paying that fine or doing that jail time, the long jail time, so they come and give you the services in lieu of that. And that is when you see these people on the highways. You know, in the federal prison system, when I first got there 30 years ago, there was you could go out and work in the free world. You go out, you left the prison every day and went and work on the army bases mostly, if you were connected to army base and to other places. You were cutting grass, you were fixing things. They had all kinds of stuff that you could do in the federal system as long as you did it on government property. You know, it's a prison system all over again. Well, it's slavery, I mean, all over again.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Again, going back to this documentary, that irks my nerves is that it's not it's disproportionately people, black folk, right? And
Mhm.
so slavery has always taken on a new form, such as the NFL draft, such as prison systems, things like that. And we get put on a block and a virtual block per se, like the slaves did, and get sold at auction. It's just a different look. The thing that bothers me with the prison system that our parents don't see and our communities don't see and our educators don't always see is the fact that there is a invisible pipeline to prison that we use in the third grade. And so what it gets even deeper, my people, You got privatized prisons. I want you all to check out this thing. I think it's CCT. And I know about privatized prisons because I have a family member that was in a privatized private prisons. And let me tell you how they exploit you. Again, oppression at its best. So I get with my buddies in the corporate America, and we got this group, and we're gonna work together because if I get the government to approve private prisons, my snacks, my phone calls, my technology, I can triple price it because now the price of that is going to be on the backs of the prisoners, the inmates who already are oppressed, and their families who are disproportionately people in poverty. See how that works? So now there's no way for you to dig out of the hole of poverty, and I'm gonna take a little bit you do got because I'm gonna wrongly convict or pressure your family member into a plea deal, even though it doesn't matter they don't do it, they didn't do it. But this government has promised me to keep people in my prisons. That's how this cycle and system works. And so what bothers me about these private prisons is, you know, I've been there. I've walked in these prisons. I've had the phone calls from them where a 5-minute phone call is $20 sometimes. A Snicker bar is $3. Now
Oh
this
yeah.
this kind of stuff here, when are we going to start putting people in place around the table who are going to advocate differently and stand in opposition to this stuff? It's just gotten downright ridiculous.
Yeah. Carl said this is nothing new. In the 1970s, there was a federal government city-sponsored neighborhood center neighborhood center called the Academy of Black Culture. I was a member of that community center. This center taught African American uh, taught African culture and traditional studies, art and music, and that's what's needed now. We've gotten away from all those things, and all we want to do is give them a basketball. You know, we're failing to teach these young people coming up their history, and a forgotten history is a forgotten people, and a forgotten people will no longer exist one day. So you won't even be able to talk anything about the history of the black man, period, unless you're over in Africa. You know, you got to be somewhere else, not here.
Let me show you how powerful that can be. So you all may know I do some work with Clemson University, and if you know anything about Clemson University, it is right on a plantation. The university, the main campus, is on a plantation. It wasn't until a professor, Rhonda Thomas, got to campus as a English professor that she started doing research and realized, slave labor built this campus. Not only slave labor, but I'm wrongly convicted youth and black folk built this campus. And so she dug and dug and dug. She realized that there are still people who, through storytelling in some of the areas around that school, were able to hold on to their history, but it had been forgotten by the oppressor. So then she comes to find out that beautiful stadium that y'all watch on Saturdays in the fall called Death Valley, there are graves behind it. Those are slave and laborer graves, black folks, and they were unmarked. And so her project now is called Call My Name. It recognizes that history that was forgotten, that history is not told in tours, that history about this being a plantation. She's replaced that. She's revived that. She's talked to the ancestors. She has talked to the black laborer families that they didn't forget the history. And so again, it gives you an example of if we don't tie into history in our local, state, and national communities, our history is being erased day by day.
Yeah, and John said they choose to ignore difficult and ugly history. Japanese internment was finally understood for what it was. We are better off having acknowledged the terrible treatment of U.S. citizens. Can't go backwards, so what's the best path forward? And I believe the best path forward, I mean, you could go to drastic measures, but this country will never do it. You can try to create some system of equality and fairness. Uh, they think that's what we have now, but it's not fair to us. You can see that every day all over the news and everything that's happening. They allow killings to happen in these neighborhoods. If you know that a neighborhood is bad off, then you spend the money to get the crime down. These corners, our kids are dying on street corners. They're not too much dying in houses. They're dying on street corners. They're dying where there are a lot of people at, or more than one person, more than 4 or 5 people. This is where they're dying at, on these street corners. So instead of the police patrolling these street corners more aggressively, they hang down the street waiting on the shooting to happen. When I was on the police department 30 some years ago, we used to jump out the cars on them, on the corners. But now, I guess since all the kids are carrying guns and they're all scared of the kids, they don't jump out the cars no more. They wait for it to happen so they can be reactive instead of proactive. And that's the difference in what's happening in our communities today. Police is reactive except for stopping people on the highways who they know don't have a gun. They rather stop and give a ticket than to stop that car with that gun in it. They know that person, that older person with driving that Mercedes, don't have a gun in it, but they rather spend time doing that while they're shooting over on 36 and Burroughs. It don't make no sense. While they're shooting and killing on the streets corners of West Savannah, which don't make no sense. And the police department is less than 5 blocks away. It don't make sense. Patrol the areas, increase your patrol. Make them get off of these corners. People are not complaining about you making them get off the corner. What they're going to complain about is how you treat them when you're getting them up. Just make them get off the corners. They don't want to go, then they got to go to jail. But it's got to be something else done without violating people's rights.
Yeah, I'm going to respond to John's question as well. I think we got to start with sensible public policy, right? And I'm going to use maybe Savannah for an example because I'm very familiar with it. I grew up in hell. We got to start with public policy. One, at a federal level, I'm not necessarily saying reparations, but we've got to level the playing field. We need a minimum wage that makes sense and to lift people out of poverty. Anybody in poverty is going to contribute to crime. That's the bottom line. If we haven't gotten that by now, then we some dumbasses. Excuse my language, but it's real. So $15 minimum wage, and those of us, those populations that have a net worth of $20,000 or less, we need to do an injection of some type of stimulus to raise it at least to $35,000 or more. That's got to be the first step forward. We've got to eliminate poverty as much as we can, or we're going to see the same cycle, which then alleviates some of this crime issue that is tied to drugs. We've got to stop jailing people for drug activity. Drug addiction and drug usage is a health problem, not a criminal problem. When are we going to realize that? Nobody gets up in the morning time wanting to be addicted to anything. Those are health issues that are behind that. When are we going to get it? I don't know. But then you start thinking about the issue of crime. So now when we start dealing with those pieces, we start focusing on violent crime. Violent crime, I just cannot stand for. Rape, killing, murder, all of that, we just can't stand for that. But then we've got to eliminate this over 2 million people in jails. We got to eliminate that. Those are 2 million people that taxpayers are paying on. Those are 2 million people that could be contributing to the economic system. But we just don't get it. But then we got to start putting people around the table in communities, our YMCAs, our churches, our community centers, our local leaders, to talk about real solutions to impact our young people and get them engaged in something productive. Whether that be, when I was running for public service commissioner, I was all about this idea called STEAM. Not only our STEM majors, but our arts majors. There are young Black males, young Black sisters who love the arts. We need to groom that. We need to support that. But so many times we want to say, oh, he's sissified because he want to play piano or be in the arts. No, we have young people who enjoy the arts and who are productive there. And we've got to start watering the seeds where our young people can be plugged in. So I think right there is where we begin. And I think it can help us start building a bridge to some other things like engagement, voting, community development, and pride in self.
Well, we got to get those people that are community leaders to tag on, because if they're comfortable, like I said earlier, and they're in that middle class, they don't care anything about the people below them.
Right.
So if they don't unite and unify with uh, the upper class and the lower class to make this work, the biggest class is the middle class.
Right.
The middle class is the biggest, largest class. So they have to be able to reach down and say, okay, let us help get you up here. No, everybody ain't coming because everybody don't want to come. But you got to be able to put forth that effort to make it better for somebody else. You got to do that. If you don't, then you failed the people. You failed
Right.
God and everything that God has asked you to do. You failed. Let's answer some of these questions we got too. King Carl II said we need to just teach true American history in which our ancestors built this country. Uh, the CRT moniker makes the concept to be easier demonized, although CRT concept has been validated by social
Let
scientists.
me respond to that real quick. CRT is I just talked to a professor of mine yesterday, Dr. Juanita Johnson Bailey, who has used CRT for 26 years of her life as a research theory. That's really all it is. There is no kindergarten to 12th grade institution on this earth that teaches that theory, period. Find me one and prove me wrong. But it's not something that's taught in schools, it's a theory used in research.
And I mean, if you're going to teach white history every day, then you need to be able to teach Black history too.
True, I
Because
agree.
just teach it. Don't call it anything then. If you want to get around it, just teach it.
Right.
You don't have to recognize that the person was a black man. Just say his name. Let the students do the research. There's ways around it, um, you know, and then but until little Jimmy goes home and tell his mommy that he learned about Martin Luther King today, he learned about Farrakhan yesterday, he learned about Jesse Jackson on Monday, then that's when the parents be having a problem with it. John
Yeah.
McMaster says Pope Wentworth's old regime are refusing to work within the system. It is the equivalent of poll taxes and black codes. They are the bad actors trying to flip the script, but it isn't working. That is absolutely correct, John. They are uh, refusing to work within the system because they did not win. What they did was they underestimated us. They thought that they were going to win those races because they always have. But we knew different. We knew that we were very confident. We were overconfident that we were going to win. Um, we knew that they couldn't win, but they didn't know because they're dummies. And it's the truth. I call it like it is.
It
They
ain't what
don't
it
know. They
is.
don't know the makeup of the city. They never went out and talked to the people. They thought that they could just put their names on the ballot and win. But we knew different. That you had to put the work in. We knew that you had to contact and have eye contact and physical contact with these voters, which made the difference. They didn't. None came close to winning. None of them. So yeah, they don't. Now that they lost, they want to cry, and the media is concerned with why they're crying instead of asking why won't you let these people govern. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. He also said the oligarchs. What was that? The oligarchs turned some of Savannah's council. It was the only way to block real change. You exactly right. Paul Wentworth took a different road. Just don't show up and create a panic while blaming the newly elected council members. Two tactics. What's
And
up,
you know,
Bubba?
when the oppressed don't see what's going on, and sometimes the oppressed do see what's going on. But let me tell you how they do it. Like they did on the some of y'all seen the movie Life, right? Where they had the man on the gun line, right? So nowadays we have, aldermen, and I used to see the Savannah, two of them in particular, that on the gun line, boss, and don't see that past that check, you ain't nothing if you don't respect your community. I don't give a doggone what Kessler may give you in endorsements. You need to protect your people at all costs. You need to protect your community. Ain't no amount, ain't one. You can't give me $1, no 1 million, no 1 trillion to turn my back on my people to look good in your pictures or to sell on your sailboat. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it because at the end of the day, your integrity and your commitment and your word are the only things you carry.
That's correct. That's correct. Our local black leaders have to have some kind of balls. I don't know whether that's a good word to use, but
Kahuna,
they got to
Jay
have.
Joseph said kahunas. He would say
You got to have
soccer
some
ball. You mean soccer
big,
ball. Yeah.
big kahunas. And if you don't, then you're just advocating for yourself and advocating for somebody other than who put you there. Those people that they're working for now didn't even vote for them, but since they're in office, they're used them, and um, they feel like they're obligated because now the man want to pat him on the back, but the man gave to the person that was trying to defeat you. You know, but they'll all see what the consequences of uh, of turning their back on the people will bring them real soon.
And that talk, and as we kind of go into that direction, that kind of bleeds into what we were talking about today too. When you think about all of the oppression and things like that, and how public leaders or politicians are turning their back on you and change their minds, a lot of the issues we have today as a community are because of Bill Clinton's ignorant law, the three strikes you're out. Bill Clinton, when he ran, had to. Everybody wants to win, but it will baffle you to what extent a person will sell out to win. And Bill Clinton sold out. I'm sorry. He sold out many years ago and created this three strikes you're out law. And he created this minimum sentencing, which made people, again, disproportionately black men and women, go to prison and jails for minor crimes. And let's say, for example, a basic charge where a judge may have given you 1 year, Bill Clinton's law made it mandatory that it would be a 10-year sentence. And so you got politicians, as you're saying, at all levels who will sell out just to get a vote, which to me, I personally don't like that.
Well, we also have to look at this also. We can't blame Bill Clinton for everything because I was following this very, very, very closely. Um, and you can't blame Bill Clinton for all of this. A lot of the black leaders were crying out because the black community was crying out also because during this time there was a whole lot of killing. We're on street corners selling drugs. Our people are. Nobody else is on street corners selling drugs but us. Let take a look.
But
Go into the other communities.
But who made that happen?
But
Again,
listen. We don't have to. Hold on. We don't have to do it. They don't have to be on the street corner selling the drugs. They have devalued our life so much, programmed us so much,
right,
that our lives are worthless to us.
Right.
So we don't mind killing our brother over nothing.
You're right now.
Over nothing. 2 people got killed out in West Savannah in the last month over nothing.
I know.
Over nothing. And so that's because those young kids, they don't care about the value of nobody's life. You know, and if they don't care about the value of nobody's life, then they're not going to give it any value, so they'll take it. But what I'm saying is, I'm not blaming it all on us. Because somebody has to bring the guns, somebody has to bring the drugs, somebody has to have those talks. And this person didn't just, the kingpin just didn't come up with the idea. I can sell these drugs. He had to have a talk with somebody who got him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's deeper than what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we don't have to do it. And we have to be able to take back control where we can relay this to our kids, to those young people out there that are doing it. But our community, when they cry out because they see so much happening, just like right now, we have the new Georgia gang violence law. Some new gang law.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about it for a whole year or so, drumming it up because the gangs were getting out of control. Now you got 47 men up in Upton County, Georgia, arrested on charges for just being on the phone. Never did anything, just on the phone. Made a call because their partner, who they're monitoring in prison, called him and told him to send him some money. They lock him up. So it is a lot of drummed up charges being for these new laws, because we cry out to our legislators. It's easy to get a law passed against black people. That's the easiest law you could ever pass.
Right.
Because it's a system in place that are looking for new ways to lock us up.
Right.
So it's easy to get that done. You know, you have some people talking about wanting accolades for the laws that they created. These laws were created to harm our community.
Yep.
In the disguise of helping our community. But it's easy to get those laws passed because we cry out after we see something that we don't want to unite for to stop. We can unite to stop a lot of the things happening in our communities. This is what Keisha Gibson Carter and Alicia Blakely and Bernetta Lanier and others are saying. But we not getting together. Alicia was on the corner the other day telling the people, come to City Hall and cry about what y'all are telling me. Just don't tell me on this corner here. Come here. Right. I'm your voice. I'm saying it every day, but I need y'all to come and say it. She got so frustrated because they wouldn't come. I can't go fight for you and you not going to help me fight.
Amen. She right.
So she that's right. The problem.
I think, Carl. I think you might want to keep going, because I agree with you. You're right on point. One of the things I will look forward to, and I'm gonna claim it when elected to join Keisha as mayor. I said it, and Alicia and Vanessa, is that we've got to use city funds, grants, and all that to make sure that all of these things we're talking about, we begin the solutions. I go back to Carl's comment where he says basically Bill Clinton and Ted Savannah. Basically, what he's saying is at a federal level, how do you impact the local level? Well, we gotta sweep around our doorstep first. So Carl is exactly right, and you're exactly right, Julius, and that there is funding there. But when you got the oppressor sitting at the table with other oppressors and don't want to be fair about the funding, or would rather put bricks on Broughton than fight crime, and you got a police chief who's not from the area, so while it does matter, it doesn't matter. You got to have people at the table at the city council level who's going to work with the city manager and put that funding in real solutions. I love a pretty Broughton Street. When I grew up, there wasn't nothing on Broughton. Nothing going downtown. But there's something to be said when Kessler now owns most of River Street and our black folk getting killed in the streets every day. Something wrong with that to me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's something wrong with it. And see, you are aware. You woke. And a lot of people are woke, but they're asleep still because they're sleepwalking, and people think that they're woke. You know, but what it takes is us having to take the time to say, you know, I'm off today. I'm going to find out where I can be engaged and involved. And we don't do that. We don't go to no meetings that we want to get involved in to see change, positive change. We don't call our legislators and ask them that to put certain laws and rules and recommendations in policies. We don't do that. We just let everybody else do it for us. And if you let somebody else do it for you, then it's never going to be done the way that you want. And you have to be engaged and involved. And that's just the message that we have to start telling people. We have too many people not voting that can change the laws and change the way things are done, but they don't want to get involved. Jay Jones has an awesome series called What If on his show, It Is What It Is. And he gives you the what if. What if you came out and got involved? What if you went and voted? You could change everything, but you just got to get involved. You got to want to see the change, and you got to be the change.
So I like you said that. How do people get involved? I'm going to share my ways, and I want to hear your ways. I think here are 3 ways you can get involved for our viewers. contact your neighborhood association president if you have one. If not, contact your two council women at large. The reason I say at large because they are more engaged with the entire city instead of just the districts. Alderwoman Alicia Miller Blakely and Alderwoman uh, Keisha Gibson Carter, who can point you to directions to get involved. One of the things I love about Keisha, she started a cleanup program for our neighborhoods. That is so important because if your neighborhood has tires and TVs and things all dumped all over, it's being torn down. Once it's being torn down and crime infects it, they want to regentrify. So kudos to her for doing just small things like that to have such a huge impact. So get involved by contacting your neighborhood association, your alderwoman, or your local community centers. Demand that those community centers have real leadership and that they're open. Those are just three ways I see that people can get involved today. What do you
And
think?
there's a couple of things that have uh, contributed to the demise of our community and has put us in this sunken pit. Um, we need, one of those things, and Brother Umar talked about it, and I've been talking about it for years, probably before Umar. Um, Babies having babies. When these babies have babies, then they think that they are grown now. A baby can't teach a baby anything except being a baby. You can't teach them grown folk stuff. And that's one of the things with the babies having babies. We have to be able to educate these kids about what they're doing because nowadays they aren't using any birth control. They're thinking that they can just have sex, have a baby, and now they're grown. And we have to educate these kids. We really do. If we don't educate these kids, then they're going to hell in a handbasket. And there was something else that I wanted to say about the two factors. I guess I'm getting old because when I go to talking, then
You
I
better
forget
start
about
writing down, making notes. I
that
tell you what,
second thing. But the other thing is to be engaged in a way, going to your community centers and asking those people who are on the front line, seeing everything that these kids are doing, asking them where you can help. Coaching Little League with Todd Rose and all those other coaches out there on the front line,
right,
Bernard Brown and all the rest. Calling your neighborhood association, NAACP, to ask them how you can better help to move that organization forward because right now it is at a standstill. But because it's not doing anything, it's not advocating for the people. It is talking amongst themselves. They're not talking in the community. They're not doing anything. You have to kick these uh, uh, organization leaders in the butt to make them do something. They don't go out and do anything on their own until that means they're not engaged and they're not involved either. Because if you have to call them about every issue, then there's a problem. They're not connected to the community.
you're right. I know you had two more images from that documentary. Why don't
Oh
you pop
yeah,
those up and let's talk through those, and that'll probably close us out. But y'all definitely go check out the documentary 13. It's on. That's the one you already showed there. But go ahead.
that's them building the railroads there. Look at it. They got their pans out so they could get food, you know, and it's just crazy. Here, I don't know what this is. Like they're building a highway or something. I don't know what that is, but uh, it's a lot that needs to be done. These pictures speak volumes.
Yeah.
They enslave us this way. They got around slavery and they put you back in slavery this way.
Right.
And if you look at these documentaries, and it tells you a whole lot about what people were thinking so that they can get back control. Slavery was gone, so they had to come up with a new form of it. And why they had us doing these things then they could work on those other ones with the mind control, with the conditions that they put us in. And only a few were allowed out. And those few that were allowed out were complicit in our demise. And today is the same thing. We give too many people um, access to us, and we give them access to governing over us by voting for them. You know, so we have to be able to, at some point, come up with a way to unite us, and that's the big 800-pound gorilla in the room. How do we unite us? How do we just say, we're working on something now. We're working on a bunch of projects. And hopefully those projects will help people to see that there are strong Black men out there, that there are organizations that care out there. And as soon as we can get it together and start talking, and I hate going to meetings. I do, especially meetings where there is no productivity. There has to be progress for me to stay interested. I just don't want to meet to talk. I want to meet to work, and because we got a lot of work to do, and we don't have a lot of time. Hell, I'm 60 years old. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. So whatever I do now has to have some impact for the future. So that's why I work so hard right now. I don't ask for any accolades, any credit for doing anything. Like I told somebody the other day, I'm a change agent. That's what I do. I try to change things. And maybe 50 years from now, somebody will be talking about me. I don't know. They didn't want to talk about King. They didn't want to talk about Rosa Parks. They didn't want to talk about Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, none of those guys. At the time when they were doing what they were doing, they were called agitators.
Right.
People didn't want them doing this because they were going to upset the white man who was going to make trouble for them.
The oppressor.
They still think today that these people going to call the bank and tell them not to give you the loan. The bank don't see nothing but a number now. Your credit score. You got a great credit score, the bank going to give you what you want. So times have changed. We got to be able to change. We cannot continue to follow that path that we followed because it's a slow road and it's too slow. What they're doing to combat us is overtaking our road, and we have to be able to speed it up some. We got to stop meeting just to meet. We got to make this about action.
You're right about that, and I'm glad you said it. I was going to close out, but let me add this. I always tell, I've been working with college students all my life, almost 24 years now, in diversity roles. And one of the things I remind students is that during the civil rights movement, it was SNCC that made a huge contribution. But a lot of times you'll see students that will protest, especially marginalized communities, on college campuses, and we see protests like Black Lives Matter. But a protest without a list of expectations or demands is basically water on the bridge. It's going to flow right into the ocean. You got, like you said, if you're going to organize, you got to have some measurable outcomes that are demands or things that you want to see different. And without that, a meeting is just a conversation without any goal. And so anybody, I implore you, I think civil disobedience in the right way is needed much more. But if you're going to be civilly disobedient, you better come with some demands, because it's so interesting how, going to the jails before King and them came out, going to jail was a bad thing. But when it came their time, the Angela Davises and the Kings and Rosa Parks, going to jail was a badge of honor, because they knew that their civil disobedience came with a demand and an expectation that we are going to be different in this land we call America, where all men and women should be created equal.
That's correct. And that's what sacrificing yourself so that somebody else can gain. And that's what it's all about. Our leaders have to understand that. Trump brought back what the racist whites call the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
They love to talk about the good old days. The good old days were not good for us. And if they come back, they will not be good for us again.
Mm-hmm.
And People just don't see it, Robert. But it's a diabolical plan that
Mm-hmm.
that they get. Even check out what they're doing to us now. Every leader that they put in front of us has one thing, whether they male or female, black. A black male that they put in front of us, a black female they put in us, what do they have mostly? A
What's that?
white spouse.
Mm.
It's a systematic mind thing that they're putting in front of us. The only one that's good enough to be there is one with a white spouse.
Wow.
Check it out. All you got to do is look at it. When they
That's
put these
deep.
people in
Yeah.
front of you, Google who their spouse is. There's nothing wrong with integrating marriages. But when they do this, it's a reason for them doing it.
Well, funny you say that because when they put Barack in front of you with a black spouse, you hear monkey, you hear all these names, but you don't hear it with Kamala.
No. And you ain't going to hear it with the Supreme Court justice that they just put. Clarence Thomas. You know, it's a lot of people that they put in front of you in these high positions. They do the background checks, and when they go down there and say, "Oh, white spouse, put him up there or put her up there," you know, that is the way that the game is played, and it's to make us think something totally different than what it really is. They're putting these people in place. Those people most times don't have our best interests at hand. They're not. They're going to look at the world as since they have arrived, then everybody else should have had the same opportunities that they had to get where they at. That's not true. This country
Yeah.
isn't at that level yet. You know, so we have to be able to tell Biden that no, this lady is not who we want. Find somebody else. You know, find somebody else. And we don't want to put her aside because she's married to a white person. That's not right. But we don't want you to keep playing with us, thinking that we're stupid. That's the problem. There's nothing
Mm.
wrong with her being married to a white man. You know, nothing in the world married with Clarence Thomas being married to a white woman. Nothing. We're not prejudiced, but we understand that until you show our kids that they matter and that they don't have to have that, then you're still controlling us. You're still controlling the narrative. We have no control over that narrative that's being pushed to us. None. You know
Yeah.
why? Because our leaders won't stand up and do a darn thing about it. The church is responsible for 75% of what's happening to us because if it was in the church, started where it needs to be started, where they can stop worrying about being a damn 5013C or something and getting a tax break. Damn taxes. You're making enough money to not have to worry about taxes. Umar Johnson said any church taking in $250,000 a year and don't have its own school or bank is pimping the people. That's what you're doing. You're pimping the people. It's
That's
crazy.
deep. That's
You
deep.
know?
But two things that you said that in that I think the church was so tied in back then because you had Jesse and Martin and a few others who were in the clergy and who were very prominent in leading social change. Nowadays we're looking for that leader, and here's a news flash, folks. That leader will no longer exist. It goes back to what you said earlier, Julius. This is now a shared collective social change movement that each of us watching, that our neighbors, that you and I, we share this movement for. Black Lives Matter, I think you mentioned it. It's a decentralized movement. There's no longer this centralized ideology of one or two or three people moving the narrative forward. If you don't do your part, if you don't implement the gift that God gives you, whether it's through voice, writing a letter, making a phone call, posting a social media thing, if you don't do your part, then who will? Is that you talking about Bible stuff? If you don't come to the table with the gift that God has given you to be a part of the social change movement, there is no one person that's not going to move the narrative forward for you. And so what that means is, what it looks like is, until you get up and stop being lazy and afraid, our brothers and sisters still live in poverty. Until you get up and stop being afraid, our young brothers are going to prison at the disproportionate rate. Until you get up and do your part, our young brothers and sisters continue to live in the cycle of poverty and self-hatred. So when will you get up and do your part and stop looking for that centralized leader? Because that person is just not going to exist anymore.
That's correct. And it is about us being able to now connect the dots. We have to be able to connect these dots. We have to, because you and I working in a group that we're in, and you have a group working against what we're trying to do, or you have two other groups working with what we're trying to do. We all need to unite. You can keep your organization. We just need to be able to work together.
Right.
It's about us networking and working together. And it ain't got to be a all black organization. You got Better Savannah that is all about policy and getting things right. They tell the true story about what's happening here. You can think anything you want to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing they are is fair. You can bet your money on that. When John and Chuck do something, they're looking at it in a position of policy. What's better for the police, for the people, and for the community? What's better for the whole city, this county, this state? So I advise everybody to don't just look at black, because we have too many of them selling us out, but look at everything.
Right.
And Better Savannah is one of those vehicles that you need to look at, along with what we tell you here on this program. We just give it to you. We give it to you so you can look at it in a different way. It's our perspective from what we see is happening. And you're right, John McMaster's united. We have to be united. And therefore, once we're united, it ain't about none of us. And that's what people don't see. It ain't about John and Chuck. John and Chuck giving you information to try to do what's right, to make the right decisions, informed decisions on who really cares about you, who's not being taxed properly, who's being undertaxed and overtaxed, who the burden belongs to. And we give you all the information so you can go back and look at all this, and along with them. It's connecting these dots. Us with Better Savannah. Us with other organizations and programs and platforms to give this information to the people so that we can move up. Because if we keep staying down in this sunken pit, sooner or later they're going to pour dirt on it and we ain't going to be able to get up.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, as we close out, the one thing I want everybody to do, and I need to do this myself, we're looking at a local level, talking about why change is important. Let me tell you why change is important. Take Dr. Jamal Touré's tour. I got to come do it myself. And it's my understanding on that tour, you'll realize what has been taken from your community and why it is so important that if you don't get involved, as we talked about, that more will be taken away. So take Dr. Jamal Touré's tour. Julius, do you know how to get folks tied into
that? It's Day Clean Tours. You can contact Dr. Touré on this platform, or you can look up Day Clean Tours. Dr. Touré is on almost 4 or 5 shows weekly. He's a great part of how this network is still surviving with warriors like him and Dr. Smalls and you, Robert, and Bernard Brown. We're and Jay Jones. We're on all these shows doing it every day. We're black men on the front line, and we're trying to make a difference. So you can, like Dr. Bryant said, take that tour. It is enriching. It will enrich your life. Believe me. I was so informed when I went on this when I went on the tour. He has a walking tour right now because of COVID, but since the COVID numbers are down, I'm sure he'll go back to doing the driving tour, because you want to be able to cover a whole lot. You want to be
Yeah.
able to go to these sites with what he's talking about down in Yamacraw and Woodsville, and Garden City, and all throughout the South Side and East Side. He has a vast amount of information to give to you, and it's in 3 parts really, because he can't do it. It's like a 6 hour tour, but the first tour is just it's 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. But it's a lot of information that we need to get out to the community so you can be involved and informed. And we appreciate everybody that's here. We need you to share, 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 support our sponsors. Uh, Give us the tags to the bottom. I think they got the new feature where you can give us some stars. That way you can support this program by just giving us stars. Uh,
Mhm.
those stars help. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. It helps support this platform, help us to continue to give these programs every day. We got everything. And Robert, I know you kept saying about to go, but you told me it was an hour and a half. Uh,
You fine.
but
You doing good.
and I was trying to go to that hour and a half, but because we need to really tell the people about all the programs that we got.
No, go for it.
One,
You good to go.
yeah, we got on Mondays. We and some of these programs we got about 4 or 5 that's starting up. Um, Profiles in Black Business. That's a show that we're going to be starting up. Limitless Living. That's a show with Diane Williams Scott, a realtor. She'll be doing that show pretty soon on Mondays. On Mondays at 7:30, we have Candidly Keisha with All the Woman Keisha Gibson Carter, who's now running for mayor of Savannah. On Tuesdays, we have our vulnerable communities. We have done about 10 episodes of that, but we're going to get back to doing that because we have so many things in our community that needs to be addressed. That's at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. At 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, we got Natural as
Oh,
F.
yeah.
And with Natural as F, um, we we that's a health show. That's a health show out there so that we can try to get our community healthier. Um, that's at 6 o'clock every Tuesday. On At 7 o'clock every Tuesday, we have Vaughn Jackson with he's the love alchemist. He has Living Proof. That's a relationship and social issues program for our community. 8 o'clock. I know she gonna call and cuss me out. Alicia Miller Blakely on her platform, but she's a part of this show.
Love it.
I mean, she's a part of this platform, so you can catch Alicia every Tuesday. She's bringing it to you live from a studio. On Wednesdays, you have a new youth show called Tribing It. So
Congratulations to them folks.
yeah, you need to tune into that because that's part of what we're we got going for the young people. Now we got two new shows for young people, and then on Wednesday at 6 we got Dr. Torre, Dr. Jamar Torre with Run Tell That. We got the Rabble at 7. We got Unjust with Shantae McLaughlin
Well,
out of
number
Atlanta.
one show now, Shantae.
Yeah, she's the number one show right now.
Very,
Unjust.
very proud of her.
Number one show on the platform, and she comes on 9 o'clock every Wednesday night, right after the Rabble, which is the number 2 or 3 show now. So after the Watch Dawgs, this is one of the
Look, as long as
top
we beat
shows
America
here.
After Dark, I'm happy.
But I'm gonna kill you. On Thursdays, you got a number of things to watch. You got 5 different things to watch on Thursday. You got Mona Lisa Monroe at 10 o'clock in the morning. You got with the Mona Lisa Monroe show. You got Taking the Journey at 6 p.m. with the Butts, Craig and Sharon. You got at 7:30, you got 2 shows. You got 2 therapists and a microphone at 7:30 on this platform, and then you have on Better Savannah's platform the Better Savannah show. So you got those 2 shows at 7:30. At 8:30, you got the Ebony Sports Reporters. We try to do sports from our perspective. we dig deeper into it. We talk more about it. We just don't give you the numbers. We give you the information inside of it. On Fridays, you got financial sins at 1. You got incarceration and financial sins. That's with Pastor Murray. You got Florence Glover and Tanya Scott Pilcher. They give you great financial information. So we try to give you an array of everything on here. On 6 o'clock on Fridays, we got incarceration to incorporation, and that is how we try to connect the dots for those returning citizens. Because once paid, a debt is no longer a debt, and what we try to tell them is you can go anywhere from here, from where you at, where you touch down at. That's where you can start your new life from. And so that's 6 o'clock every Friday. It is what it is with Jay Jones. I talked about him earlier in this broadcast. He gives you the what ifs. He tells you the things that we need to be doing. He gives you uh, uh, your uh, uh, your rules of engagement, so you can get involved and know where to go to get involved. If you want to know how you can get involved, tune in to It Is What It Is. Jay Jones will tell you everything that you need to know to be involved and get things moving in this city, in this county, in this country. He talks not just local, he talks everything.
Right.
And at 10 o'clock, you got the number 5 show. The number 5, yeah, I think he sunk the number 5. America After Dark. America After Dark. You about number 5 right now, Bernard. He took over at number 1 for about 2 weeks, but he down to number 5 because Unjust, Rabble, Keisha Gibson Carter, and the Watch Dawgs are all ahead of. I got the numbers, so y'all got to tune in to America After Dark on Fridays to wind down, drink you some wine, drink your favorite beverage, rather, whether it's water or whatever, and wind down and listen to some real men talk about issues in this country and dating and all kind of things. I ain't gonna even say, but you get laughs out of it also, and because it's like humor. And you see a lot of us on that program also. The funniest person on there is probably Jamal with his crazy self, Dr. Torre. He's not funnier than James, but he's pretty funny.
Whoa.
We got Saturdays. You see, we got a lot of shows. It's 26 shows. 22 of them are airing. We got 4 more that'll be airing in the next couple of days. Saturdays, you got the Watch Dawgs, the show you're presently watching right now, every Saturday at 12. Y'all see how we do it. 4 o'clock on Saturdays, either starting next weekend, I believe. Speak Freely with Nay, the host with the most. She's from New York, and she's a great, great, great personality. You got 6 o'clock p.m. every Saturday at 6 p.m. Y'all know the great Reverend Dr. Leonard Smalls. He gonna give it to you like you supposed to hear it. He gonna give it to you raw and uncut, and what Jesus told him to say. So listen to it. He don't hold back nothing. He tells you what is going on. Tell it like it is. 6 p.m. tonight. Political Action Committee. Unity Political Action Committee. It'll be coming on this platform. It's a part of our platform now. It'll be airing on this platform soon. So Pastor Smalls, he's a big part of why we're still alive and why we're still bringing these programs to you. Then you have Straight Talk once a month with Groover Thornton. Straight Talk. Groover has a big audience also. He had a pretty good following his first show, but he has a monthly show. We're trying to get Mr. Thornton to do a weekly show or a bi-weekly show. I'm going to talk to him and Ms. Gunn real soon because he has information that needs to be out. He's 88 years old, and he gives it to you like he's 38. You know, he's full of energy and,
He's a good brother.
Yeah, he's full of energy and full of knowledge.
Yeah.
And we need to get that knowledge out. One of the things he told me, and I've been telling Mr. Charlie Brown this, he's not taking that knowledge to the grave.
Amen.
He's not. He said, I want to give this out to these people so that they'll know what we went through so they won't have to go through it. So, Mr. Thornton, we respect you, love you, and just keep doing what you're doing. Straight Talk Hopefully, it'll be coming to you more. But right now, he's once a month, 7:30s on Saturdays. I'm gonna try to get him to do more shows than that. On Sundays, we got 3 shows. Uh, um, Little known Black History Facts. That's a show that's coming at you real soon, real fast. Real soon, real fast. If you want to be a host of any of these shows, call me. I got 4 shows that's coming open, especially Little Known Black History Facts. You see how we do it here. All you have to do is present the Little Known Black History Facts to the people. That'll be a show coming on Sundays. One that'll be starting in the next 14 days with some great pastors. Uh, John Cox, Jamar Torre, my good brother out of 2 good brothers out of Atlanta that I will be talking to in the next couple of days. I don't want to call their names because I don't know whether they've already 100% committed, but they'll be giving out from the hood to the pulpit. From the hood to the pulpit. Y'all get it now. From the hood to the pulpit. It's going to be one of our shows. And one that will be coming back is Voices in the Struggle. Voices in the Struggle will be coming back pretty soon, and hopefully we'll have that ready. They both moved out of town. One went to Hawaii, one went to Virginia, and both left Savannah. So they'll be getting their show back together after a while and airing on Sundays at 7 p.m. And we also hope to have a nightly newscast. A nightly newscast. Brenda Roberts, you need to call me after the show, please. And we could talk about it.
And check out Messenger. I connected you with our engineer / somebody will be good for the nightly show. Akeem McMichael, check your Messenger. It might have been
Akeem, he needs to contact me because I want to get that nightly newscast, a 30-minute nightly newscast to report not just local but national news that we can use, because the local mainstream media doesn't give us news like we should have it. And we want to be able to present that news the right way. And Portland Work was an example of that. I had to get on the little young Black girl, Alyssa Jackson, the other day because I say your reporting is slanted. You're not reporting correctly. You're not digging deep enough. And then Nancy Guam from the newspaper, I had to get on her and tell her, she said, Julius, I don't read the charter. We don't interpret the charter and make a decision. We only go by what they tell us. I said, well, then you're misinforming the people. I said, you should read the charter, find out what it is, get a professional opinion, because I'm sure the newspaper got attorneys, and get their opinion, and then tell the people what should and shouldn't be done. I said, nobody's trying to break the law. We only want to bring it to you fairly. So if you all are reporting what's wrong, you're not reporting it correctly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully something will change. I called the news press and everybody about how they're reporting everything here. Even after the meeting Thursday, when they showed the clips, it made it look like everybody went up there was against the council, which has 4 Blacks on it now. So it made it look like it's against the council. When 2 of those people that they showed were voicing their opinions for the council, but when they showed it, it looked like they were arguing with the council. So we got to be able to correct a whole lot of things. I know Robert putting the comments up. Don't y'all blame me. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Robert putting the comments up right now.
What comment?
Not me. So I know I see I missed 12 already.
No, I got them. I'll put them up. Put them up. All of them went up. So I got another person for you to check out here. One of my classmates who'd be good for a show, but he just came back right here, this brother here. Reach out to me. I'm gonna call him when I get out of here anyway, but he'd be good. Right. He'd be good for traveling it. He has music. He's a local. Look up his stuff. If you watch most of stuff, so we can look up your music. But he's a local artist right here in Savannah.
All right, I'm gonna get. We can get with him and let him get with Chris, to Benji, and Salim and Libby. They are the hosts for that show, and he can talk with them. He also with the young show Speak Freely with Nate, the host with the most. He can talk to all of them. If not being on the show, if not being a host, being a just being on the shows, because this
Being
is
an
what the show
engineer,
is about.
if you want the behind the scenes stuff, you can, definitely train young people for that, because social media and knowing how to do this engineering stuff is going to be
Mhm.
is nowadays a profession.
That's correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
I got a young hard-headed, well, I don't know where she at, 17-year-old. She supposed to be over there doing work, but I see she done got up, gone. She over there making intros and everything for the new shows, because the new shows are coming, and we are bringing it to you the way that it should be brought. We're giving you information, giving you history. See, we ain't waiting for nobody to tell us that we could teach CRT. We're teaching it right now, right here. We ain't waiting on the community centers to start up. We're going to be doing it right here. All that stuff for little known Black history facts, Brenda, you can teach it right here on this program.
right,
All those things that they don't want our kids to know, they can learn it right here off of this platform. So we're going to be doing that, and getting this information out to everybody. We, like I said, we got everything from sports to health to finances to politics to social issues to uh, unjust and injustice in our criminal justice systems to comedy. We got it all. So you all need to tune in and tell your friends about this program, and tell them to send us those stars that you see ticking at the bottom of the screen, so that they can help support this program. We can't keep the lights on. It costs. It costs $79 a month just to play the music that we play, because we can't play other people's music. We got to buy the music for everybody, all the shows that we do, for all the intros that she's making. She got to go on our site that we pay for monthly. We gotta pay for all the graphics and stuff that we use. All these things cost. It costs to keep the lights on. It costs to keep the water on. It costs to keep everything going the way we're doing it. We're just lucky enough to have 45, 50 people on these shows that are giving back. And if we're so lucky, if God has it in place for us to get to that next level, then these people will be compensated, because they are here to help start something that isn't being done nowhere else in the country. Nowhere else in the country is anybody doing it on the level that we're doing. Yeah, you got some people trying to do what we're doing, but there's nowhere else in the country that are doing it on this level. Now, you got some artists that are already making money out in California and Chicago and all, and they've united. I think they call Black Oak or something like that. And then you
mm,
got Sean Puffy Combs, but he's a billionaire, and he's not even doing what we're doing with Revolt TV. You got some people, so we'll be reaching out to those people to try to get with them, or to have them try to help elevate this platform to another level. That's why I try to tell people to be as professional as you can, to have the backdrops, so nobody's walking behind you. Don't be eating. Keep Puffy out of the jumping in your lap. What's your dog name?
Coke.
Coke.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
Coca-Cola.
keep
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, keep Coke from jumping in your lap.
He's sitting
We're
right
gonna get
here.
all that straight. Right
Yeah,
now, we are a growing network, and we're coming up to where we need to
yeah.
be at. I know I don't talk y'all butts off,
No,
but I
that's
want
good
to give
stuff.
people
Bernard, don't be
Ivan
laughing,
Coin,
Bernard.
give Ivan
Bernard got a
Coin
dog too.
a
Bernard dog called
breakdown.
Squishy.
But now I got a dog called Pushy,
Squishy.
Squishy. Oh Lord. Yeah, so we want to make sure that y'all knew what we have going on here, and we're doing it on shoestring budget. Right now, we need help as much as we can get, and what we need to do. Oh, Charles, I got to do your interview. Don't forget, yeah, Charles' interview with Keep Grinding, and that's another show that we need to see whether we can get on this platform also. So we'll be talking to him. So. Y'all see it. We post this already with all the shows and all the shows that are coming, the dates and the times and everything. And we just thank you all for participating. We got about our viewers go anywhere from 21,000 a month to 38,000 some months. So we month before last we had 38,500 people viewing. Last month we had 22,000. The month before that, I think it was 24. So it goes anywhere from 18 to 38,000, according to what's going on and what we have in front of you. So we're trying to do some things even Roland Martin isn't doing. So just check us out and support the platform, please. We can be found on Our Black Media on YouTube, All Things Relevant Media on Facebook, and we're coming to Twitter and Twitch or whatever else they got us coming on. And you can look our Facebook up, which is going live pretty soon. Ourblackmedia.com is still being worked on. So when y'all look at it, don't say, oh, it's being worked on. But she's out of town and she'll be back and she'll finish working on ourblackmedia.com. So keep out. I know I done talked for 20 minutes now.
We're going to
So
roll on out of here. We'll see
good
y'all next.
afternoon, and we'll get
next
with
Saturday.
you all later.
Hey, JB got the cat. I don't know, Bernard or JB. I don't know who got the cat, but hey, I'll let y'all have that. We'll see y'all next Saturday. We'll be here at noon. And we look forward to hearing your, as you said, more contributions for the network. And we'll see you next week.
All right.